Pacific Ocean crashes furiously and relentlessly on a rugged, dry, broken coastline. These waves batter the cliffs like the vanguard of one world violently lashing out against another. Two universes opposed in a gigantic contradiction. Here the Pacific is cold but fertile. The currents that surge along one extreme of the Atacama are immensely rich in life. Massive banks of fish are fed by the nutrients these currents carry. And in turn, these huge agglomerations of fish attract numerous marine hunters. Various species of shark, tuna and dolphin in pursuit of their smaller aquatic neighbors. From nearby coastal settlements, seabirds and seals join in the hunt. And right between these two battling worlds, on a narrow, frothy, wave-beaten strip of land and sea, South American sea lions take advantage of both to enjoy a relatively comfortable life. But, somewhat unexpectedly, this amphibian world continues further inland. The Atacama Desert, with one of its edges lying along this wild coastline, is barely 180 kilometers across at its widest point. And even there, at its furthest from the sea, at an altitude of 3,500 meters, there is also salt water. Lagoons on the high plains are fed by the winter's snows, but they are in fact filled with salt water as a result of ancient marine deposits, lifted up millions of years ago when the Andes mountains were formed. These saltwater lagoons are in fact the remains of very primitive seas. And some of their inhabitants are almost as old as those seas. Flies, for example. Shore or brine flies are born, live, and indeed flourish in a hypersaline habitat. Flies are a treasure, each one a valuable, nutritious food source in such a hostile and lonely environment. Food is far from abundant here, except in the form of crispy, ready-salted brine flies. The biomass of the flies adds up to several tons, and so they are an essential link in the delicate food chain of the Atacama Desert. The desert is an extreme terrain that tests all living beings' ability to adapt or perish. Only the strongest, the most resilient can survive here. The rare few capable of withstanding the extremes of drought and temperature. Someone always passes all the tests. Fabian's lizard is an exclusive inhabitant of San Pedro de Atacama, a small region of this vast desert. Fabian's lizard is a miraculous reptile. It can tolerate the heat, aridity, and blistering sun, and knows better than anyone how to exploit the scarce food resources. These lizards prowl the banks of the lagoons, where flies gather in their thousands. And although fly catching is no easy task, Fabian's lizards achieve excellent results thanks to their speed and agility. They will jump, chase, and if necessary, walk on water to get a meal. Their very existence depends directly on these flies. Fabian's lizards inhabit the narrow strips of land near the lagoons, and males enthusiastically defend their small territories. Duels between landowners are constant. They approach each other, inflating themselves in a display of dominance. If they feel secure in their forces, whilst considering their rival equally powerful, they will settle for a battle of poses, a staring match, a bout of shadow fighting. But after so much tension, in the end, the fly past of a potential meal is enough to induce a truce. Each male returns to his respective territory until the arrival of a daring, provocative female piques their interest again. Female Fabian's lizards have no concept of the male's supposed territorial borders, and they are an object of permanent desire. When the females are receptive, their suggestive, sinuous dance excites the males. And yet, despite the intensity of the wooing, it seems that it is not yet the time for copulation. And once again, an airborne snack is enough to end the encounter. After all, food is food. Fabian's lizards are not the only hunters on these salty plains. There are other predators interested in flying nutrition. Recently arrived from marine environments, some birds acclimatized to this unforgiving hell. Andean avocets sieve the water near the surface in order to capture insects with their curved bills. Stilt sandpipers peck here and there in search for almost invisible animals. And rapid puna plovers run along the shore like so many urgent wind-up toys. From infancy, the little plovers can move very quickly. Under the protective watch of their parents, they patrol the banks of the lagoons. Thanks to their extraordinarily keen eyesight, the plovers can detect the smallest movement that may reveal the whereabouts of something edible. And almost as soon as they hatch, they know how to catch the elusive but nutritive flies. The salt flats of the Atacama Desert, a very extreme ecosystem with an abundance of salt and widely varying temperatures, are unexpectedly thronging with life. Andean flamingos live here, and only here. These are their preferred lagoons, located at an altitude of 2,000 meters. This extremely inhospitable place is home sweet and unique home for this flamingo species. For hours at a time, mechanically repeating the process under the unforgiving sun, the flamingos stir up the muddy lagoon bed with their feet and filter algae and crustaceans out of the turbid water with their specialized bills. But suddenly, everything changes. Food is no longer of any concern. Something in the atmosphere and in their own bodies takes precedence over food. Hormones and the need to reproduce take control of the situation. As they glance at each other, the flamingos start to move their necks in time. Whatever flamingos do, it's always in their community. They travel, come into heat, reproduce together as a whole colony at the same time. In a question of seconds, an extraordinarily synchronized communal choreography is underway. For a few brief minutes, the salty lagoons of the Atacama Desert become the shimmering stage for an amazingly beautiful dance. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it's over. The outburst of passion is forgotten almost without transition, and they calmly go back to eating, as if nothing has happened. The salty lagoons in the heart of Atacama, where Andean flamingos dance in the middle of the mountains that give them their name, are the ancient traces of long-gone seas. The Atacama, the driest desert on Earth, is barely 180 kilometers wide, but it extends from north to south over 1,600 kilometers and has a surface area the size of Iceland. In the vast desert of Atacama, there are even loftier lagoons at almost 4,000 meters. It is there that horned coots build their floating nests. It's hard work, but the coots are industrious and somewhat aggressively defensive. They will not allow anyone to get close to a new nest. Not even an audacious seagull, keen on squatting. Living at such high altitude, with very little water, the temperatures ranging from 25 below zero at night to 30 above during the day, is not for the faint-hearted. In such an extreme environment, life is feasible for very few creatures. Vicuñas are one such creature. As a camel, it knows what it means to be resilient to drought, cold and heat. Vicuñas are the smallest camels on Earth and have a light, elegant bearing with their long necks and slim legs. Something about them perhaps even reminiscent of their long-legged pink neighbors. Their survival kit for extreme situations includes their clothing. The wool of vicuñas is especially designed for life in the Puna region at between 3,500 and 4,500 meters of altitude. Their coat is made of wool with the finest fibers in the world. This makes it dense and impermeable, and it insulates them from freezing winds and rain. And yet, despite their adaptations to this harsh environment, vicuñas, unlike other camels, must drink every day, so they generally live near the streams or ponds of Puna. The Puna is a high semi-desert region of Atacama, which vicuñas inhabit with other rare large animals, such as the ñandú, or Darwin's rare. Ñandú and vicuñas share various food sources, usually peacefully. But vicuñas are curious creatures, and perhaps a little more so than the ñandú care for. The young vicuña's curiosity puts the ñandú family on its guard, and they have no other choice but to retreat to safety under their father's wings. Only after the danger has passed does the family continue with the most pressing activity of the day, looking for sustenance among the sparse vegetation of the desert. The wide expanse of the Atacama Desert, from the coast on one extreme to the heart of the Andes on the other, has many different faces. Snowy peaks, volcanoes, sandy regions, dunes and bare rocks. Each of these environments offers different possibilities and challenges to be colonized. Even colorful, noisy flocks of burrowing parrots can find a place to call home in these arid neighborhoods. Burrowing parrots know how to squeeze the most out of a hostile environment, and so can live in semi-desert regions where they consume seeds and small fruit. Such places give them a great advantage. Here, they have hardly any competitors. At this time of year, summer in the southern hemisphere, they're in heat and tensions are high. Confrontation is more frequent than usual. Yet despite the occasional friction, these desert dwellers always live in social groups. And by extension, breed within the community. Burrowing parrots look for ravines and banks of earth where they dig out a great city of caves with their beaks. Each pair of parrots excavates its own burrow, very close to that of its neighbors, and together they engage in a kind of neighborhood watch over their homes. There are few places to hide in the desert. There are no trees or hospitably hollow logs where you can build a nest, and there is nowhere to hide from the relentless sun. Or is there? The modus operandi of the burrowing parrots is more or less repeated in numerous other species. The inhabitants of Atacama really only have one way to escape from the heat and from predators. In the desert, everything seems to happen in plain sight. Security and privacy can only be found in the darkness of an underground den. In a tiny ravine, in the abandoned burrow of a tawny tuco-tuco, a colony of Copolicana bees shares certain characteristics with the burrowing parrots. The Copolicana bees have hairy, colorful bodies and constantly buzz around their tiny colony. These bees live together, but not haphazardly. Each has its own subterranean niche, which it must dig for itself. A large portion of the day is spent preparing the ground and staying inside, where the females prepare the nest for the generation to come. The female bees work tirelessly, removing a huge amount of earth in relation to their size. Activity in the colony only pauses during the hottest hours of the day. The males, paler and grayer in color, ceaselessly fly around the holes. They seem to be prowling, and indeed they are. They're on the lookout for a female. There are far fewer females, and so they are in demand. Should one dare to leave her cell, several males will pounce, eager to reproduce. Less an act of love, more a battlefield in which more and more ardent contenders join in the combat. The female is a fleeting prize for which rivals will fight to the death. Some challengers, exhausted from their efforts, die under the blazing Atacama sun. In another corner of this particular hell that is the Atacama Desert, other cave dwellers make their homes. The only place to hide and cool down is underground, but common degu frequently venture out into the open. These small rodents excavate their galleries near desert thickets. When they venture outside, the brush provides both food and protection. Degu are insatiable. Their priority when eating is quantity over quality, and they gnaw away at all kinds of vegetables at high speed. But fruit is their favorite feast. Above their heads, seeds of the Roman cassie ripen. Each time one falls to the ground, a degu pounces. Sometimes it's better to enjoy a delicious delicacy in the cool of the shade underground, out of sight of hunters. In a drier, sparser territory that looks like a minefield, another ground-dwelling rodent peeks out. At dusk, when the same sun that scorches everything loses some of its intensity, Koruro appear. Night soon comes. In the rocky Atacama territories, even in the remotest, loneliest places, chinchillas can still be seen. Short-tailed chinchillas are elusive rodents that were driven almost to extinction for their highly sought-after fur. These fluffy rodents move in the dark in search of the tough vegetation of the desert. Their coats are a formidable defense against the cold desert nights. And after eating, nothing is better than a nice, relaxing sand bath. Chinchilla's fur is the thickest of all mammals, with 20,000 individual hairs per square centimeter. There is no better coat than that. To keep their fur smooth, glossy, and cold-proof, they bathe every night in sand. This way it stays clean, fluffy, and free of tangles. Only if they are kept in good condition is the effectiveness of the chinchilla's coats maintained. In Atacama's high inland areas, cold is a constant. Low-lying regions have a slightly less punishing climate, both wetter and warmer. Clouds arriving from the sea caress peaks and ridges, leaving a dewy residue. This gift enables cacti and shrubs to flower and other plants to sprout, even if they survive just a few days. The oasis hummingbird of Atacama takes full advantage of each new flower. Sucking up the nectar of the cacti in the knowledge that the delicacy will soon fade away. Yet despite this brevity, these are moments of maximum abundance in Atacama. The giant hummingbird will now act quickly in order to reproduce. It has installed its nest on top of an impregnable tower, a spiny cactus. From this protected vantage point, the female, who can barely fit in the nest, watches calmly and keeps her tiny eggs warm. The giant hummingbird is the largest hummingbird species, exceeding 20 centimeters in length. Being so large means that its metabolism is slower than that of other hummingbirds, and so it only flaps its wings a mere 10 times per second. This warmer, lower-lying territory, where cacti and thorny bushes abound, is not the exclusive honey garden of the giant hummingbird. In fact, another giant also lives here. Another camel, to be precise. Near the sea, cacti and bushes form part of a dry, desolate landscape. This is the home to the guanaco, a true expert in surviving in the imperious wilderness approaching the coast. There are areas of Atacama where it has not rained in 4 years. But guanacos seek out the most benign environments, and what's more, they take care of their desert. Their hooves are soft enough not to damage the ground and vegetation they walk on. And when it's time to eat, they also act with care. They consume tough and thorny plants, but as they are continuously on the move, they never overexploit the vegetation in one area, and it has time to recover. The balance between desert and guanaco is optimal, but that does not stop life being hard enough to mean the death of some individuals. However, their death is good news for the culpeo, or Andean fox. This fox species visits the coast and its surrounding areas in search of food. The Andean fox is a widespread predator in the desert. It is capable of hunting baby guanaco, but this is a tiring way of getting a meal. What's more, the kick of a protective mother guanaco would easily leave the fox out of action. So for now, a few insects will have to do. As a good opportunist, the fox knows that the pungent odor of a cadaver might mean a chance of filling its stomach. Several foxes have had the same idea and have gathered around the guanaco's body. The dead guanaco has been feeding them for several days, and the meat is disappearing as fast as it is drying out. The last scraps of the corpse lead to a conflict of power and hierarchy. It is resolved, as is usual in nature, in favor of the strongest. There must be some degree of order at the dinner table, and it is the leader's job to enforce it. After the meal and the settling of accounts, there is nothing better than a siesta in the shade. Add a little fresh air, the sea breeze ruffling the fox's fur, and it is an almost idyllic scene. Not far away is the beginning of everything, the cold waters of the ocean, the desert's eternal companion that blows fresh air over the sleeping foxes. Supported by that same wind, turkey vultures soar and climb above the waves that crash against the parched extremity of the desert. The vultures have found another cadaver. Another victim of the struggle for power, status, and the urge to reproduce. It's a large male sea lion who lost his battle against his rivals and the waves. His broken body was unceremoniously dumped on the rocks by the waves. Now, it's a gift for the vultures. Down in the surf, life goes on as if nothing has happened. Young sea lions as ever, testing each other out. They charge, they bite, they bellow and they fight to protect their harems. The aggression of the male sea lions grows daily, and with it, tension in the colony. Nevertheless, it goes about its daily life, balanced between the parched desert on one side and the abundance of the ocean on the other. Between two worlds that are as diametrically opposed as they are complementary. From the peaks of the Andes down to the coast, Atacama is a place of contrasting landscapes, of deserts of different colors, of different textures, inhabited by a variety of battle-hardened creatures, each one eking out a life in its own particular desert world. The Caribbean, a paradise of tropical sea, humid jungle, mighty rivers, and unexplored caves. A region of great contrasts, overflowing with all kinds of life, ruled by the powerful influence of the Caribbean Sea. The Caribbean is one of the most diverse regions in the world and boasts all types of ecosystems, from tropical forests to freshwater cenotes, from colorful coral reefs to mysterious mangroves. The power of the Caribbean reaches far beyond its beaches into the jungles. Moisture, often in the form of rain, soaks areas covering thousands of kilometers. The heat and humidity of the Caribbean gives rise to a concert that begins at sunset and lasts through the night. A concert of love songs produced by a choir of soloists. Every species of frog and toad has its own song, all in search of a mate. So the jungle surrounding the Caribbean is converted into a gigantic auditorium. The calls of little blue jean frogs, also known as strawberry poison dart frogs, reverberate through the undergrowth. Costa Rican variable harlequin toads or clown frogs prowl around puddles. Red-eyed tree frogs sing from their hideouts in the vegetation. And toads, with practicality in mind, sing their songs from the water. Little by little, couplings are made and consummated. And the result of so much serenading is often hidden under leaves. Here, the humidity is so high that many species of frogs can deposit their eggs high in the jungle, far from potential aquatic predators. The eggs mature for a few days on the protecting foliage. But some snakes are aware of this evolutionary tactic and have themselves specialized in finding tree frog spawn. They're long and slender and can easily climb and move between the branches of trees and bushes. The amphibians' eggs are utterly defenseless, and so the tadpoles must develop at full speed. In just a few days, they will fall as fully formed but miniature individuals into the water below. But some will not even survive the first challenge of their lives. Egg-eating snakes are astute and efficient. Their tongue picks up the scent of the spawn, and they invariably devour a good number of nutritious eggs. Even so, the snakes rarely eat all the eggs. Some are left, so that the cycle of generations is not broken. Caribbean is a giant jigsaw puzzle in which the pieces, each one with its own range of natural wealth, fit together to perfection. The delicate, doleful relationship between snakes and frogs' offspring may be played out right next to a colony of frigate birds. Where snakes prowl among the branches, magnificent frigate birds flutter over the waves of the sea. Their angular bodies and narrow, slicing wings allow them to play on the sea breezes like agile kites. Frigate birds can be seen as the crows of the sea, opportunists who take advantage of anything edible floating on the water. But since their plumage is not waterproof like that of seagulls or ducks, they never land on the water and must perform spectacular aerial stunts in order to feed. They may live from and over the sea, but if they fell into it, they would drown. Frigate birds are only found in regions of tropical seas. The warm caress of the Caribbean atmosphere is very hospitable for their bustling colonies. Males inflate their enormous, eye-catching gular throat sacs like party balloons about to burst. In females, these throat sacs produce a hypnotizing effect, and they're drawn to the display. But in males, they provoke an attack of irresistible envy that ends in a pitched battle. These fights are very tough on those involved. They run the risk of damaging their best asset, their large red display sac. If this were to happen, they would lose all chances of competing for a mate. The vast sea is implacable to the conflicts of the frigates. The sheer size of this American sea means it is home to a variety of different ecosystems. The Caribbean is one of the largest salt seas in the world. Covering almost 3 million square kilometers, a surface area similar to that of Argentina, it comprises islands, coastlines, and huge areas of salt water. The true heart of the region is the Caribbean Sea, with its warm, crystal-clear waters. The Caribbean is refuge to some of the best preserved coral reefs in the world. The corals extend from the waters of Mexico to Venezuela, and an unusual variety of life forms can be found in them. Measuring more than 1,000 kilometers in length, the Great Caribbean Coral Reef is the second largest on the planet. A few meters below the surface throngs a fascinating world full of unique life forms. This is where everything starts. In the tropical waters of this constantly changing sea, animals seem to form gardens of infinite shape and color. Some of these flower-like animals sway like stout seaweed. Others resemble huge inert containers. And others have the appearance of delicate flowers. That hide at the slightest danger. Many strange beings use this extraordinary animal garden to hide in. And crabs, filtering tons of waste in their surprising way, help keep the waters crystalline. Just a few meters away, the Caribbean caresses the beach, exerting its immense power over jungles and mangroves. This is an amphibious territory where terrestrial and marine worlds meet. The legendary feared jaguar is no stranger to this meeting place. The big cat hides in the undergrowth near the beach, surveying the scene. It's waiting for night, when it will come down to the shore in search of victims. In the Caribbean, everything is connected. The light of the moon makes these mysterious connections seem even more remarkable. Caribbean beaches are very busy frontiers. Terrestrial crabs, the ambassadors of crustaceans. The crabs emerge from the forest and head to the beach to deposit millions of eggs under the cover of darkness. The females hide the eggs under their bodies and must urgently get rid of them. The rising night tide is the exact moment the crabs need to take advantage of to spawn in a hurry. In just a few moments, each female releases hundreds of thousands of eggs to the rhythm of the waves. While the crabs spawn at full speed, another ancient marine being appears from the waves. Turtles take a different approach from the crabs. Sea turtles emerge from the Caribbean slowly, but as fast as they are capable of, because right now they are vulnerable. For a few months, sea turtles will come out of the sea every night to play their part in the circle of life. On dry land, they are somewhat clumsy, can't move at high speed. It's for this reason they use the darkness as protection. They cautiously find a suitable place in the sand to dig a deep hole and deposit their precious cargo of eggs. It takes each pregnant turtle about 2 hours to come onto land, make her nest, lay and cover her eggs before returning to the safety of the sea. And during those 2 hours, all their lives are in mortal danger. And elusive prey within the jungle. Fortunately for the turtles, the jaguar will only kill a fraction of the females, and some will even have time to lay their eggs. A couple of months later, the baby turtles hatch. They emerge from the sand in a night similar to that in which they were deposited and hurriedly swim down the beach towards the water, hoping to beat dawn and the perils that daylight brings. They must crawl as fast as they can towards the protection of their true home, the warm Caribbean Sea. dawn in the Caribbean. There's no trace of the little turtles, but from the nearby branches, toucans make their presence felt. Mating pairs of toucans greet the new day. The Caribbean is calm. The day breaks clear. Storms and hurricanes seem to be a distant memory. So it's a good time to sunbathe and warm one's body. Green iguanas climb to the tops of the trees to sun themselves. The reptiles take advantage of the first of the day's rays, which are the most pleasant and beneficial. In the forest clearings below, black spiny-tailed iguanas also recharge their batteries. As soon as they've warmed up, breakfast. Fruit that has fallen onto the jungle floor. In between them, anoles, much smaller species of lizard, take advantage of the rays that filter through the foliage. But there are also snakes in the undergrowth. The eyelash viper stays curled up in the same place for several days. Its stillness is its best weapon. It remains so immobile, apparently petrified, that it goes utterly unnoticed. Once again, its strategy has brought it success. Or perhaps not. The anole comes to just in time to engage its excellent reflexes and fight back. The viper, still sleepy from the cool of the night, was not able to inject all its paralyzing venom into its victim, with unexpected results. Miraculously, the little anolis lizard escapes. Here in the gigantic Caribbean region, there are beaches, patches of jungle, coral reefs, and also mangroves. This particular type of woodland habitat covers a large area of the coast, as it can easily tolerate the heightened salinity of the estuaries. These coastal mangrove forests are a buffer of vegetation between land and sea, where life thrives. The maze of twisted roots absorbs nutrients directly from the water. An impenetrable labyrinth, the mangrove serves as a refuge for a huge variety of birds and fish. American flamingos are the most conspicuous of the mangrove's inhabitants. Flamingos tend to prefer open, shallow water lagoons. Millions upon millions of tiny crustaceans, the flamingo's favorite food, live here in these saline arteries. Each bird consumes hundreds of these little animals a day. Apart from nourishing them, the crustaceans are the source of the reddish carotenoids that give the flamingo its distinctive pink tone. Life of flamingos, generally affable, turns somewhat conflictive when hormones are on the ebb, and altercations, fortunately never fatal, may occur. These temporary displays of aggression are beyond the imagining of another unique character of the Caribbean, one of the flamingo's neighbors, whose realm is on the other side of the water. While swimming alongside their mothers, the young learn how to look for food and shelter in the Caribbean waters. Manatees' bodies are covered with algae, which benefit from nutrients and light by hitching a ride on their underwater mobile home. This aquatic garden also attracts other animals, such as butterfly fish, which feed on the algae. Thanks to this symbiotic relationship, the manatees are kept clean and the fish are provided with a free and relatively effortless meal. The waters that supply the Caribbean do not only come from mighty rivers or tropical storms. There aren't many rivers on the Mexican coast. The rain that accumulates in the Caribbean waters the Yucatan jungles and then disappears, swallowed by the earth. The water here dissolves the limestone rocks and forms underground rivers. For thousands of years, the Caribbean has been the source of water that has eroded innumerable caves and sinkholes. Some of these gigantic cavities produced cenotes, open-air lagoons within the jungle. Although entirely natural in origin, these places seem lifted out of fairy tales. Perfect turquoise waters, labyrinthine galleries, and enormous chambers adorned with countless stalactites and stalagmites. But far from imaginary, they are the ideal habitat and feeding place for an infinity of animal species. The caves and cenotes are a world apart within the Caribbean. Many of their inhabitants are mysterious and as yet undiscovered. But others, such as motmot or clockbirds, have been important features of indigenous cultures for many generations. The Mayans believed that the pendular movement of the motmot's tail attracted mosquitoes, which are very abundant in cenotes. And the cenotes and caves here hold even more powerful and unsuspected secrets. One only needs to wait until the sun begins to set. A murmur begins to rise from inside the earth. The faint flapping of wings, high-pitched, almost inaudible shrieks are the prologue to a spectacle of massive proportions. Some caves near the Caribbean Sea are home to millions of bats that come to life in an instant. At first, only a few, perhaps the hungriest, emerge after their daytime slumbers. But within a few minutes, the earth spews forth millions of creatures at full speed. Spirals and clouds of bats that congregate, then disperse through the surrounding jungle. The variety of Caribbean bats is astounding. The Caribbean region of Central America has the largest number of bat genera on the planet and more than 170 species. Bats play a fundamental role in the ecology of the Caribbean. They consume tons of insects every night, pollinate thousands of flowers, and disperse the seeds of the jungle. Without bats, the rainforests all around the planet would be lesser places. The dark, humid homes of the bats, the thousands of caves scattered throughout the region, are ultimately a result of the unending Caribbean storms. All around the Caribbean coastline are scattered an infinite number of gulfs, bays, and coves. And it's here that a coati is looking for any surprises that the Caribbean Sea might have left on the fine white sand of the beach. Coati are the true treasure hunters of the Caribbean. They seek out the remains of castaways. Their powerful noses guide them to any animal defeated by the tides or fruits thrown up by the waves. The multitude of crabs that hide in the idyllic sand can't be ignored either. The Caribbean restocks the beach daily as if it were an open-air Arcadian supermarket. With a little skill and patience, abandoned treasures can be unearthed. The Caribbean Sea, with its humidity, its storms, and its warmth, exerts a powerful influence on the dry land found within its confines. The moisture and heat alone causes an explosion of life that translates into some of the richest ecosystems on Earth. The diversity of birds here is an example of this bounty. Among the more than 600 species of birds that hover, flutter and dive around the Caribbean, parrots, with their incessant screaming, are possibly the most conspicuous. Parrots, which are especially adapted to warm tropical ecosystems, are intelligent birds. Most parrots know how to exploit the enormous wealth of fruits that the jungle offers. That said, in this extraordinary part of the world, there's always room for surprises. It seems that some parrots have evolved into hunters. Scientists have discovered that some species of jungle parrots augment their plant-based diet with proteins of animal origin, especially that of insects. This pair of birds lays siege to a termite mound to force its occupants out into the open. While they try to rebuild their home, the birds eat to their heart's content. But the parrots are barely amateurs among the Caribbean's very numerous hunters. Among the hunters of the Caribbean are some of the most poisonous animals on the planet. Coral snakes, bright, colorful and rapid. They hide on the jungle floor and wait until another snake crosses their path. A lightning-fast movement, and its cousin is injected with deadly venom. But consuming the other snake is a huge effort. The prey is as long as the hunter, but the effort is worth it. This meal will sustain the coral snake for several months. Close by, just a few meters from the beach, there are other corals, just as bright, colorful and suggestive. These bring life from the belly of the Caribbean Sea. The Caribbean region is a unique place on Earth. It possesses a diversity and a wealth of wildlife that begins in the depths and extends over a gigantic portion of the wildest part of America. The influence of its life-giving waters and encouraging, caressing waves reaching far beyond the sea itself.